There's so many coincidences, so many odd things that just don't add up. Everything sort of smells.
I believe they are withholding some of the documents at the request of the British Secret Service.
A long-lost letter from Princess Diana has emerged, sending shockwaves through the royal world. Addressed to Kate Middleton, this remarkable discovery offers a glimpse into the late princess's thoughts, aspirations, and perhaps even a message for the future queen. What did Diana say? How does this change everything we thought we knew about the royal family? Join us as we uncover the truth behind this extraordinary discovery. Diana, the People's Princess. Diana, Princess of Wales, was one of the most popular, iconic, and recognizable members of the British royal family. Born Diana Frances Spencer on July 1, 1961, she came from a noble family with close ties to the royal household. She spent much of her childhood at Park House, located on the Sandringham estate, where she grew up near the royal family. Despite her background and affluence, she was renowned for her humanity, her gentleness, and her authenticity. These qualities later made her gain popularity among the public. Her life was never the same after 1981. When she was 19 years old, she was engaged to King Charles.
So began a day of royal excitement, of congratulations and tributes to the couple in the Commons, in the Lords, at the gates of Buckingham Palace, and at the places where Prince Charles and Lady Diana are best known.
Prince of Wales at the time, and Queen Elizabeth II's eldest son. At the same point in time, she was employed as a nursery teacher's assistant, which in turn reflected her intrinsic interest for children. With their wedding celebrated in July of that year in St. Paul's Cathedral, their marriage ceremony was seen by millions of people who watched it from near and far. Overnight, Diana became the Princess of Wales, stepping into a royal role that came with enormous public attention and responsibility. As a member of the royal family, she was expected to carry out various duties, including attending public engagements and supporting charitable causes. She quickly won the hearts of people everywhere with her beauty, charm, and compassionate nature. Though she was initially shy, her warm personality and ability to connect with people from all walks of life made her stand out. Unlike many royals before her, Diana often broke away from rigid traditions, showing a more human and approachable side of royalty. Her marriage to Charles, however, was far from perfect. While they appeared to be a fairy tale couple in public, behind the scenes, their relationship was troubled. They had 2 children, William and Harry, who were both second and third in the line of succession to the throne. Even though Diana cherished her children and was an affectionate mother, her marriage to Charles was increasingly undermined by fundamental personal differences and infidelity in both partners. Their partnership had deteriorated to an unworkable point, such that they broke up in 1992, and it was terminated in divorce in 1996. The public had been living with their troubles for years, as their challenges were extensively reported by the media. Its activities include raising awareness for AIDS and opposing landmine proliferation. She played a huge role in changing people's attitudes towards AIDS patients, famously shaking hands with an HIV-positive man at a time when many still wrongly believed the disease could be spread through touch. She also traveled to war-torn areas to campaign for a global ban on landmines, working closely with the International Red Cross to bring attention to the dangers they posed. Diana also raised the topics of mental health and cancer awareness on the basis of her own experiences.
As their world closes in on them, their self-esteem evaporates into a haze of loneliness and desperation as they retreat further and further from those who could help them.
To motivate dialogue on issues often considered too sensitive to discuss. Even after her divorce, she remained a beloved figure, with the media closely following her every move. Known for her elegant fashion sense, she was widely seen as a style icon, influencing trends in the 1980s and 1990s. Tragically, Diana's life was cut short on 31st August 1997, when she was involved in a car crash in Paris. The accident,
from our very own Foreign Secretary Robin Cook, who's in the Far East at the moment, that Diana, Princess of Wales, has in fact been killed in that car accident.
Which also claimed the lives of her partner Dodi Fayed and their driver, shocked the world. Her death led to an outpouring of grief, with millions mourning her loss. An investigation by the Metropolitan Police later concluded that the crash was caused by reckless driving, leading to a verdict of unlawful killing. But while the world saw Diana as the beloved people's princess, was she truly happy behind palace walls? Diana's search for love. When Diana Spencer walked down the aisle at St. Paul's Cathedral on July 29, 1981, she truly believed she had found her fairy tale ending. She later admitted that she was deeply in love with Prince Charles and felt lucky to have him by her side. Even Charles himself once confided after her passing in 1997 that, despite everything, they had been very much in love when they married.
And indeed still are, by the public response to Diana's death. It has been really quite remarkable and indeed in many ways overwhelming.
However, their happiness didn't last. Their marriage started to fall apart after the birth of their second son, Prince Harry, in 1984. Diana, still young and inexperienced, struggled with Charles's emotional distance and his ongoing relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles. This intensified her lifelong fear of separation, and she searched for love and approval in new ways. Diana was attracted to men that paid attention to her, and she had a natural charisma that charmed everyone. A friend once described how she had a way of lowering her eyes and making men feel special. It wasn't a calculated move, just part of her personality. Her first serious romantic connection outside her marriage was with her bodyguard, Barry Manicky, in 1985. He was warm, confident, and protective, exactly what she craved. Those close to Diana noticed how happy she was around him, and she admitted that he made her feel valued. But their closeness didn't go unnoticed. Palace attendees quickly recall Manicky after discovering it. 1 year later, he died in a motorcycle crash. Diana was devastated, but had to hide her grief. Later, she told us how she had to fake it at the glittering public event in Cannes on the day she learnt about his passing, pretending everything was okay. A few years later, in 1989, Diana found comfort in James Hewitt, a cavalry officer. She wrote to the man expressing her strong affection and wished that they would remain together for the entirety of their lives. But their romance didn't last. Hewitt was subsequently deployed to Germany, and while they continued to communicate for a period of time, the interaction ultimately ended. Years later, Hewitt would betray her by publishing a scandalous account of their tryst in a book which would devastate Diana. During this period, Diana also had a close relationship with James Gilby, an old friend whose support she leaned on heavily. He was the man on the other end of the infamous Squidgygate tapes, where they shared intimate phone conversations. Though Diana denied having an affair with him, she admitted that she struggled with being alone and often needed reassurance. Probably the most dramatic one was with Oliver Hoare, a family man art dealer. Their romance was filled with drama. Diana reportedly went to great lengths to see him, even sneaking out in disguises and making late-night phone calls to his house. When the media found out and labeled her a royal phone pest, Hoare didn't defend her, which crushed her. She thought about how difficult that previous relationship had been, but also realized that it had taught her a lot about herself. Then came Hasnat Khan, a British Pakistani heart surgeon, whom Diana met in 1995. She was instantly drawn to him, calling him Mr. Wonderful. Unlike her past relationships, this one was different. Khan wasn't interested in her status or fame. They had a simple and intimate connection, spending time together in secret. Diana even learned about his culture, reading the Quran and watching hospital dramas to understand his work. For the first time, Diana realized that she achieved some real lasting peace being with a person who loved her for that. She dreamed of a future with him, even considering marriage and moving abroad. But Khan was hesitant. He worried about how their cultural differences and the constant media attention would affect their lives. Eventually, the pressure became too much, and they ended their relationship in the summer of 1997. Diana was devastated, and Khan later confessed that he often got lost wondering what could have happened. Diana spent her life searching for love and acceptance, often placing her happiness in the hands of others. In the end, the one thing she truly longed for, a stable, committed relationship, always seemed just out of reach. But just as Diana seemed to be finding her own path, was she unknowingly stepping into a fate she couldn't escape? Princess Diana's Final Hours. Season 6, Episode 3 of The Crown, entitled Dis-moi oui, transports viewers back to one of the most painful nights in modern times, the death of Lady Diana, Princess of Wales. In this episode, writer Peter Morgan attempts to recreate Diana's last hours in Paris alongside her companion, Dodi Fayed. The episode paints a picture of a couple struggling under the constant pressure of fame, with paparazzi following their every move. It began the minute they get into the city, waving cameras and constant hype. The couple at a stage dined at the Grand Ritz Paris, but were overwhelmed by the media and had to escape. The show also depicts a moment where Dodi Fayed proposes to Diana, but she gently turns him down.
And so, I have a question I want to ask you, to which I hope you will indeed tell me yes.
No.
Not long after, they decide that they need to exit the hotel via a back door in order to get away from the relentless photographers. On the other hand, this ad hoc decision in the end results in a tragic resolution. When they fled, their car, featuring an impaired driver at the wheel and paparazzi in hot pursuit, hit a tunnel. While much of what happens inside the episode is based on real events, some parts, especially the conversations between Diana and Fayed, are fictional. Although, the general portrayal of the night is relatively realistic, including the frenzy, the extraordinary media pressure, and the unfortunate decisions that ultimately caused their deaths. Rumors and conspiracy theories about the true events of Diana's death in 1997 spread rapidly. Many speculated that there was more to the crash than just reckless driving. In 2004, the Metropolitan Police of London began a full inquiry into the case, which it named Operation Paget. With this probe, the intention was to stop existing theories about her death and find the truth about what happened to her. Among the most persuasive voices in favor of these conspiracy theories was Mohammed Al-Fayed, father of Dodi. He made no bones about the fact that he thought his son and Diana had been maliciously murdered. It is alleged, according to the 871-page official report of 2006, that he believed the British royal family would not ever have accepted the possibility of Diana marrying a Muslim partner, and that there had been a pre-planned conspiracy to try and prevent it. Between 2007 and 2008, a British court inquest ruled Diana's death unlawful due to reckless driving by her chauffeur and paparazzi. Although Mohammed Al-Fayed asserted, the court ruled in accordance with it.
Already, Lord Mitcham have put a complaint saying exactly what's going to happen to her, that she's going to be murdered in a car, and nobody done nothing.
The Crown's portrayal of Diana's tragic death highlights the immense pressure she faced as a famous woman. But was their fate sealed the moment they decided to leave the Ritz? Or were there larger forces at play that turned their escape into a tragedy? A timeline of her last night in Paris. The night of August 30th, 1997, began like any other for Princess Diana and her companion, Dodi Fayed. The pair had vacationed in Sardinia together and then flew to Paris, where they intended to have a peaceful night out. However, as the unfolding of events progressed, their last hours morphed into a chaotic and fatal cascade, culminating in one of the most shocking events in history. Around 3:30 in the afternoon, paparazzi were there, waiting to catch some pictures of the famous princess. Upon arrival, a driver named Philippe Dourneau, who worked for Dodi, picked up the couple and their bodyguard, Trevor Rees-Jones. They first, however, did not go straight to their hotel, but rather stopped at the Fayed family home, Villa Windsor, in the 16th arrondissement. While they spent a short time there, their luggage was taken to a different Fayed-owned apartment on Rue Arsène Houssaye. By 4:30 in the evening, Diana and Dodi had arrived at the Ritz Paris, a five-star luxury hotel owned by Dodi's father, Mohammed Al-Fayed. They stayed in the lavish imperial suite. A few hours later, at about 7 o'clock in the night, the pair departed the Ritz and went to the apartment on Rue Arsène Houssaye, where they stayed for approximately 2.5 hours. Later that night, they decided to go out for dinner and initially planned to eat at Chez Benoit, a well-known restaurant. However, their evening took a sudden turn. According to reports, there were different accounts of how aggressive the paparazzi had been during their journey to the restaurant. Feeling overwhelmed, Dodi instructed Philippe Dourneau to cancel their dinner plans and drive them back to the Ritz instead. This change in plans meant the hotel staff was unprepared for their arrival, which led to a somewhat chaotic situation. Upon their return, things did not go smoothly. The paparazzi, hungry to take pictures, surrounded them, creating annoyance and anxiety. Initially, the couple went to one of the hotel's restaurants, but they quickly realized that dining in public would not be peaceful. Instead, they opted to have dinner in their suite to avoid further attention. Paul Handley-Greaves, security boss to Mohammed Al-Fayed, explained that the decision was made because of the high levels of media attention surrounding the restaurant. When midnight reached Diana, and Dodi decided to depart from the hotel toward their apartment located on Rue Arsène Houssaye. They used the back entrance of Rue Cambon to depart in order to minimize public observation. While Philippe Dourneau waited at the front entrance in a decoy car, the paparazzi had gathered in large numbers outside, assuming the couple would use the main entrance. However, some photographers had stationed themselves at the back exit as well, ensuring that no movement went unnoticed. Instead of Dourneau, another driver, Henri Paul, was provided with the authority and responsibility to drive the pair in a black Mercedes-Benz S280. This decision to go with a different car and driver was in order to confuse the press, but it was no good. The moment the paparazzi discovered Diana and Dodi had exited, they swarmed them on motorcycles. Neither Diana nor Dodi wore seatbelts as the car sped through the streets of Paris. The car stopped at a high speed in the Pont d'Alma tunnel, where Henri Paul lost control and hit a column. The impact was devastating. Both Paul and Dodi were killed on scene, while Diana and their bodyguard, Trevor Rees-Jones, were taken to the hospital. Despite efforts to save her, Diana was pronounced dead at 4 o'clock in the morning by local time. A later toxicology report confirmed that Henri Paul had been intoxicated at the time of the accident, which contributed to the crash. But was the crash truly just a tragic accident? Or were there darker forces at play, ones Diana herself had eerily predicted years before? A suspicious note. Back in 2005, Prince Charles, who is now King Charles III, found himself answering questions from UK police about the tragic death of his ex-wife, Princess Diana. This wasn't a criminal interrogation, but rather part of Operation Paget, an investigation launched by the British Metropolitan Police in 2004 to examine the various conspiracy theories surrounding Diana's fatal car crash. John Stevens, the former head of Scotland Yard, later revealed in an interview with the Daily Mail that he personally spoke to Prince Charles about a particularly alarming note that Diana had written a decade earlier in 1995. In this handwritten message, Diana had expressed fears for her life, stating that her husband was planning an accident in her car, one that would involve brake failure and a fatal head injury. She thought that this was a plan in order for Charles to marry Tiggy Legabourk, one-time governess to the two princes, Prince William and Prince Harry. Diana's note remained private for several years before it became public in 2003. As soon as it emerged, authorities decided to pursue it, and they invited Prince Charles to St. James's Palace 2 years later. At that point, Stevens went on to say that, Due to serious allegations being leveled against the Prince of Wales and others in the royal family, police had to carefully scrutinize all the evidence at their disposal before formally interviewing him. Nevertheless, following a thorough search, they did not discover any evidence to support any of the alleged issues raised in Diana's note. Stevens also confessed that on its own, the note did not provide sufficient grounds to target Charles as a suspect. On the other hand, he was not necessarily considered to be a potential witness. That is, he was entitled to freely cooperate or not cooperate with the alleged culprit, that is, with an inquiry into the matter under caution. At the interview, Stevens had Charles read the note aloud from Diana and inquired to him why Diana would have written such a message. According to Stevens, Charles responded that he had no knowledge of the note until it was made public by the media. Asked if he had ever talked about it with Diana, Charles, for the second time, flat out denied knowing about it. With regard to why Diana may have felt that way, Charles himself stated he had no idea. Stevens remembered that Charles displayed full cooperation with the interview while giving no indication of hiding anything. Not all royals showed willingness to participate in the investigation. Prince Philip showed refusal to participate in the investigation, according to reports. The man declined the request with a short but determined message. Diana's note was written around the same time she gave her now infamous BBC Panorama interview with journalist Martin Bashir. Years later, in 2021, an inquiry led by former Supreme Court Judge John Dyson uncovered that Bashir had used deceptive tactics to secure the interview. Authorities disclosed that he had fabricated bank statements in order to persuade Diana to talk with him.
Metropolitan Police have said that the BBC journalist Martin Bashir won't face action over claims that he faked documents ahead of securing his exclusive interview with Princess Diana in 1995.
Furthering Diana's unsubstantiated worries and suspicions surrounding the monarchy. Looking back, Stevens felt he and his team regretted that they and Bashir had not been interviewed during Operation Paget. He admitted that if they had known about Bashir's forged documents at the time, they would have investigated the situation thoroughly. Unfortunately, the truth about Bashir's methods only came to light many years later, long after the original inquiry had ended. How has Diana's legacy shaped the royal family? Kate Middleton's heartfelt tribute to Princess Diana. Kate Middleton, the Princess of Wales, found a touching way to honor the memory of her late mother-in-law, Princess Diana, during two major events dedicated to remembering the sacrifices of the armed forces. She paid tribute to the beloved People's Princess through her choice of jewelry and fashion at both the Festival of Remembrance and Remembrance Day in London. Kate went to the Festival of Remembrance at the Royal Albert Hall on Saturday, the 11th of November. As always, she looked elegant, but this time her accessories carried a deeper meaning. She wore a pair of Collingwood pearl earrings, which had once belonged to Princess Diana. These beautiful earrings were a thing of Diana's and were a favorite of the princess at her royal duties. Kate also wore her sapphire and diamond engagement ring, another piece that once graced Diana's hand. The ring, which Prince William gave to Kate when he proposed, remains one of the most sentimental connections between the two women. The next day, Kate also paid tribute at the Remembrance Day service at the Cenotaph War Memorial in London. This event is one of the most significant days in the UK, honoring the bravery and sacrifice of the armed forces. For the solemn occasion, Kate wore a sophisticated black coat dress designed by Catherine Walker Coe. The outfit was more than just a fashion choice. It was a nod to Diana, who was known for her love of the designer's creations. The coat featured a velvet bow detail, a subtle but elegant touch that made it stand out. To finish her outfit, Kate selected a pair of Bahrain pearl drop earrings, formerly worn by the late Queen Elizabeth II. This tiny but significant fact related Kate to one more iconic royal woman as a sign of strong, deep reverence to all those who walked before her. Catherine Walker was not just a designer to Princess Diana, she was also a close friend. Diana wore many of her designs during her years as a member of the royal family. In an interview, Walker's widower, Cyrus, reflected on the special bond between the designer and the princess. He shared that they worked closely with Diana to ensure her outfits were perfect for her royal duties. Their goal was to make sure she always stood out as a person, rather than letting the clothes overshadow her. Cyrus further noted that, while designing the attire for Diana's official abroad trips, he and his wife took the extra precaution of making sure they were suitable. They would, for example, look up the culture and the custom of the land where Diana was staying, and it was even that they would travel there the day before a visit. Their goal was to find a harmony between UK representation and showing sensitivity to the host country. What did you think about how Diana was treated by the royal family? Do you think she was treated fairly? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.